Truth is at war with mind control and deception. So to speak the truth is a combative act. I do this because I see presenting this information as a personal moral obligation to speak the truth to people so that they can make informed decisions about what's going on around them in their lives. Satanism and the dark occult. This is something that I have direct personal experiential knowledge of, not something that I learned in books. Truth has always been here for us to perceive. The ego is in the way of that perception, however. Beware of what I call, and have called in my work, emotional mind control. Emotional mind control means that you're going to gauge information based upon how it makes you feel, as opposed to looking at the actual data and trying to determine whether it is actually true or not. Okay? So, two things that I ask everyone always to do when I present is set aside your personal perceptions of me as the presenter. I'm not the important one here. Okay? The information is what is important. So if you don't get distracted by the sound of my voice, my tone, how I dress, what I look like, all these things are trivial. Okay? Pay attention to the information. And be consciously aware that if you reject information just based upon how it makes you feel, that is a logical fallacy. You cannot gauge the veracity or the truthfulness of information upon a visceral emotional reaction that you may have to it in the moment. So I tell people, ignore this information that I'm about to present here today due to your own ego bullshit at your own peril. The other thing I want to say to people whose ego might be a little bit, run away is, and I hear this all the time when I start to talk to people about the occult. They'll say to me, I don't believe in that stuff. That's somebody else's religious belief, and therefore it has no effect upon me. Well, you don't need to believe in something that someone else believes in for it to have a profound impact in your life. I look at it as possibly the most naive and foolish mindset on the face of the earth to say, well, I don't need to look at that stuff because I don't believe that it's real, and so I don't think it can have any effect upon me. I tell people this is the equivalent of stating, no one's crazy religious beliefs can possibly affect me, even if they violently act upon those beliefs in a way that can do me extreme harm. I mean, that's insanity. There are a lot of religious extremists out there in the world, and they're willing to act upon their extremist, nonsensical belief system. It doesn't make a difference whether you believe in what they believe. You don't need to believe in what they believe. They believe in it, and they're willing to act upon it. This is just common logical sense. Extremists that go and shoot up Planned Parenthood, you can get caught in the crossfire as you're walking to work. Extremist Islamic religionists can do crazy violent acts, and people can be affected. You don't need to believe in what they believe in. So please keep that in mind moving forward with when I talk about the belief systems of the people who are currently running the world. The other question I ask people when I talk about the occult is, who are you willing to listen to? Are you willing to listen to somebody who just read about it in book knowledge? They took it secondhand. Or are you willing to listen to people like myself and Jay Parker who were directly involved? We came from the other side. We came from the other team. I was a priest within the religion of Satanism for years. The word occult is derived from the Latin adjective occultus. Occultus means hidden from sight. A lot of people think occult means evil. It does not. It never has meant evil. It only means hidden. Okay, the Latin adjective occultus, meaning hidden, comes from the Latin verb occultare, which means to hide or to conceal or to keep secret. These terms are both derived in turn from the Latin noun oculus, meaning eye. So occultism is related to vision. It is related to what we are capable of seeing, capable of perceiving or not perceiving. C.W.Leadbeater, an occultist from the 20th century, said, "How shall we define occultism? The word is derived from the Latin occultus, meaning hidden, so that it is the study of the hidden laws of nature. Since all the great laws of nature are in fact working in the invisible world, far more than in the visible, occultism involves the acceptance of a much wider view of nature than that which is ordinarily taken. The occultist then is the man who studies all of the laws of nature that he can reach or of which he can hear. And as a result of his study, he identifies himself with these laws and devotes his life to the service of evolution." This is what true occultism is. It is the recognition of the laws that ultimately govern the universe, and it is the study of those laws. Though, as we will see, those laws are operating in the personal domain and they're operating in the physical domain. So they're operating in the physical and the metaphysical domains. Occult knowledge is held by very few people, unfortunately, because a priest class, a super class of occultists, decided to sequester that knowledge and use it for their own selfish benefit. The masses of humanity remain ignorant to what occultism is and to its influence in their daily lives. That's why the world is enslaved. That's why people can continue to be manipulated and controlled, because there's a small class of people who know all about these laws of nature, and there's a huge body of people who don't want to learn them because of the responsibility that is carried with that knowledge. Ultimately, folks, occultism is nothing but hidden knowledge, and it is hidden psychological knowledge, ultimately, which we're going to get to. What knowledge does occultism hide? Well, what is this hidden knowledge that we're talking about? Occultism is a body of science which is not widely known to the general population, consisting of hidden knowledge about the workings of the human psyche and the laws of nature. In other words, both the seen laws, which are the physical laws, and the unseen laws, which are spiritual laws. The minor arcana of occult knowledge, meaning the lesser knowledge or the microcosmic knowledge, the knowledge of the inner world, consists of knowledge of the human self, the human psyche, and how it operates, how it can be manipulated, what its motivations are. Okay? There's a body of knowledge that deals with the greater laws of the universe, the major arcana, the macroscopic laws, the knowledge of the heavenly bodies, all of the forces of nature, and natural law. Natural law is what I call cosmic moral law, universal moral law. The major arcana also consists of the physical laws of science, which in many cases are occulted, because the people who are in control don't want us to even understand how the physical world really works, let alone the metaphysical, spiritual laws. So this is the knowledge that ultimately occultism is comprised of. And I always ask people when I explain these two bodies of knowledge, what knowledge of any true importance is not contained in those two bodies of knowledge? And if you kept those two bodies of knowledge secret from other people and you sequestered it, how much of a number do you think you could do on people who just remain completely ignorant of that information? You think you can completely control them? Well, I don't think that that's been done. I know it's been done. Another thing people will argue and debate is that no one should be looking into the occult at all. Oh, don't look into that stuff, it's bad. Well, we already dismissed that myth that this is just something that's bad. It just means hidden. What happens with it is determined upon what kind of consciousness the individual or groups of people are doing with that knowledge. How do we use it? That's the main question that needs to be asked. How is this knowledge being used? It's not that we shouldn't look into it or understand it. It's a neutral tool, as is all knowledge. All knowledge is neutral. There is no such thing as good knowledge or bad knowledge. There's just knowledge and what we do with it. So the consciousness of the wielder of this knowledge determines whether that information and knowledge is going to be used for good or evil. It's like you could take a very sharp knife and you could cook a healthy meal. You could prepare a healthy meal for your family and friends with it. And that would be something that is good. Or you could take that knife and you can go out and rob somebody with it at knife point, which is an act of coercion and evil. It's the same knife. It's the same tool. A different consciousness is wielding the tool for a different purpose. I think people have to be much more grown up about how they think about occult knowledge. This is not something that is forbidden. Occultists, dark occultists, want us to think of it as forbidden so that we don't learn what they know and start empowering ourselves with it. Occult knowledge is, however, a double-edged blade. The knowledge contained within the occult sciences can be used for good, the uplift of human consciousness, or evil, manipulation, control, and slavery. I consider myself a de-occultist, meaning I am trying to unveil, unhide this information so that it can be given to everyone on an equal basis. They can understand how it is being used and they can empower themselves with it. Then the playing field is leveled. That's real equality. That's going to be the pathway to real freedom, is this knowledge. Dark occultists, on the other hand, always hide this knowledge for only one reason. They hide it in order to create and maintain a power differential between those who hold this kind of knowledge and those who remain ignorant of it. Dark occultists work through fear and manipulation to bring about compliance with their own selfish will. That is dark magic. Their work, their dark great work, is always done in secrecy, and it is constantly contravening the freedom and prosperity of all but themselves. Dark occultists have completely infiltrated and permeated all institutional walks of life on this planet. They maintain their control over the human population through their manipulation of these institutions. This manipulation and control is not only possible, but it's relatively easy for them to accomplish because the structure of all the institutions that they run and that they have set up on the face of the earth is based upon hierarchy and compartmentalization. Hierarchy means a chain of command, or really a chain of obedience. Therein lies the problem, the chain of obedience in hierarchy. And compartmentalization means one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. All these groups seem to work completely in isolation from each other, but they're ultimately controlled by one overarching agenda that knows how they're all fitting together like pieces of a puzzle. That's compartmentalization. These two things are the hallmark of all institutions that want control: hierarchy and compartmentalization. Finally, in the Demystifying the Occult Part 1 seminar, I talked about there being kind of two potential outcomes for how things could go. And, I liken this to the Great Seal on the back of the $1 bill, because that seal is about this time that we're living in being a great transitional time period for the earth and its people. I call this seal the world in transition. Anaqueptus means he, she, or it favors our work, favors our project, meaning God. God favors our work. Well, which God and which work is the two questions that need to be asked there. Does the God of creation favor your work? Well, if the God of creation's favoring that work, you're trying to remove the obstacles to the light, which are the bricks, and the soul trap known as the trapezoid, which we're going to get to later in the symbolism section. If you remove that, the light joins up with the earth and there's no block to the light. There's nothing to weigh us down. This pyramid being built up is the dark occultist, the dark builder's great work of blocking out the light of the Creator from the world. The true great work of light occultists is the distribution of occult knowledge freely to humanity, thereby ending the slavery of humanity by eliminating the widespread ignorance which dark occultists exploit to gain and maintain their control. On the other hand, if the dark occultists complete their dark New World Order, you have a world based in darkness and slavery, a world without light, without the light of the divine. The great work of dark occultism is to keep humanity in a state of general unconsciousness and slavery, and to tighten that control until they obtain a threefold objective. They wish to be invincible, invisible, and immortal. That is the goal of the dark occultists. They want total control. They want nobody to be able to see their total control or who they are. And they want to live forever in the physical world. In other words, they want to maintain and tighten that control to the extent that they literally become God on earth. That is what dark occultism is all about.